We see a house is kind of boarded up. This is basically the trap house. Alright, so PNB Rogers dropped his album Trapstar Turnt Popstar May 3rd. It has 18 songs and it runs for 54 minutes. The album cover, we see him seated in like a makeshift throne. It's very, very colorful, similar to his Catch These Vibes album cover. And it's pretty telling to his lifestyle as an artist as well, which I'm pretty sure is very eventful. So overall, it's a pretty cool cover art. But anyways, moving on, singles, we have Go To Mars featuring T Grizzley. We have Nowadays. We have I Like Girls featuring Little Skies. And we have ABCD Friend Zone. Standouts, we have track 1, Dreamin'. It's a record about coming from struggle and achieving success. For PNB, that success feels like a dream. He says, when I die, well, I'm going to probably be the only one in my will because that's the only real love that I feel, for real. So right here, this part is pretty telling. It speaks to his upbringing and how he was treated by those he grew up with, as well as like families. And throughout the project, he was saying how he doesn't trust his family. And, you know, when he was down and out, there wasn't nobody there for him, as well as for his mother, who, you know, had to do some things in order to try to make things, you know, work for the two of them. But anyways, moving on, we have track 3, D Streets featuring Little Durk. It's a record about being prepared for the smoke. We have Go To Mars. It's the first single. The record details the fast life, which includes drugs, partying, shopping, sex, etc. We have Penny Proud. It's a record about coming from humble beginnings. In other words, coming from rags to riches, and that creating envy and plots against his life, which, you know, that's pretty much the norm nowadays. You grow up in the hood or in poverty, you get some success, you get some money, and those that you grew up with are those that were in the city that you grew up in. They grow resentment, and then they, you know, make plots against your life, which is, you know, a fucked up thing, but, you know, that's the world we live in. But anyways, moving on, we have track 6, Middle Child featuring XXX. It's a record about each artist's come up. PNB says, Mama had 5 boys, me. I was a middle child. By the age of 13, bitch, I was young and wild. Caught my first case, then I got kicked out my mama's house. Got nowhere to stay, bitch. I'm running in your fucking house, bitch. So right here, this speaks to his rough upbringing. He was the middle child of 5 kids. And at the age of 13, he started to get into trouble. And he said that he had running a house. So basically, in order to make ends meet and, you know, have something to eat and stuff like that, he would basically, you know, be flocking and burglarizing, you know, people's houses, you know, out of necessity. And then for track 7, Fuck Up the City featuring Quavo and Molly Mall, it's a record about representing one's hometown. PNB says, spent 10 bands on a coat. I probably won't ever see snow. Niggas drown with the wave. Can you float? Why these little niggas so broke, huh? All this money out there, go get some nigga. Say you fuck my bitch. I'm like, which one? All these hoes out there, nigga, pick one. Still in my swag. Yeah, I'm where you get your drip from. You know I stay in designer. I don't need no stylist. So right here in these couple of bars, he's kind of like, you know, flossing his money, saying he spent 10 bands on a coat just for the fuck of it. And he's probably never going to see, you know, a cold climate because he's used to living where it's sunny a lot. And then he says, niggas drown with the wave. Can you float? Basically, people that, you know, try to mimic what he's doing can't, and they can't keep up. So in other words, they get left behind, they drown. Why these little niggas so broke? All this money out there. He's saying, why is it you have all these people that be claiming to have things, but in reality they be broke, and it's so much money out there that it shouldn't be. Then he's talking about how people bragging about they had sex with a female he been with, but he's saying which one because he got so many options. And then he's saying there's so many women out there. Why are you proud of, bagging somebody that he already been with? And then he's basically saying he sets the tone as far as, what people wear in certain circles. So a bit of braggadocious swag rap right here. We have track 8, Nowadays. It's the second single, the first on the Trapstar side of the album. It's a record about PNB's rough upbringing, which includes living in shelters, his father not being present, and his mother selling crack. He says, came from a broken home, mama, she was never home. All our fathers dead and gone. Yeah, they left us all alone. Mama had to sell crack. Remember niggas took her pack, robbed her for a fucking sack. Now we gotta start from scratch, in and out of shelters. Felt like God failed us. All these fucking family members. Ain't nobody help us. It don't even matter though. We gonna be rich one day. Till then, I'm on the block, trapping up a one way. Niggas talking crazy. They don't want no fucking gunplay. I'll pull up on that nigga block on a Sunday. Church day, I'll turn that shit into a hearse day. So right here, this is what I was speaking to earlier, where his mom and as well as him was living through a hard time, and they had to resort to doing things that they otherwise wouldn't normally do. So he says, came from a broken home. Mama was never home because she was in the streets hustling. Father's dead and gone. Father not in the picture. Yeah, they left us all alone. Mama had to sell crack. So she was selling crack. And I guess maybe one day when she was selling crack, some dudes came up to her and robbed her of her, of the crack, because she was probably selling on one of the corners or something. And then he's like, now we got to start from scratch. We got to figure out something else. In and out of shelters. They were in and out of homeless shelters. At that point, which was a low in their life, he felt like God had, left him behind. And then he says, all these fucking family members. All these family members you have, but ain't none of them, around to help you when you in need. And in certain situations that happens, you have family's supposed to stick together and all of that, but in certain situations, family members can be jealous or envious or want to see you fail, and they won't help you. And then he said, in spite of all of that, he didn't care because he knew one day that the situation was going to be better. And that came to fruition with him becoming, a multi-millionaire. So, which is pretty interesting. You have to go through some type of struggle usually before becoming wealthy. Most success stories involve some type of struggle. So this was his. And then he says, until then, he's back on the block. So until then, he's going to be on the block, trapping. It's basically similar to what his mother was doing, but he's going to take over doing that. Then he's saying people talking crazy, but they don't want, to get to the gunplay. And then he says, if you do, he'll pull up on you on a Sunday and then, do what he need to do. And then he'll turn that day into a funeral day. So right here, some pretty pretty deep bars. I think this was a pretty interesting song. Then we have track 10, Swervin, featuring Diplo. It's a chill, melodic EDM type record about PNB having a woman on his mind as he's driving. We have track 11, I Like Girls, featuring Little Skies. It's the third single. It's a record about the love the two artists have for women. In PNB's case, his love is for women who like women, so his love for lesbians. Then we have All These Bands featuring Tory Lanez. It's a record about each artist's riches and lavish lifestyle. We have Stage Fright. It's a record that compares an artist's first time on stage to that of being with a particular woman. So for PNB, being with a particular woman gives him butterflies, something you experience when you have your first performance as an artist. Then we have Choosing. It's a record about PNB having his eyes on one woman, even though many more are available to him. So basically, he has tunnel vision. Then we have ABCD, Friend Zone. It's the fourth single, and it's a record about meeting a woman from the ATL, hooking up with her, but she only wants him for sex. But PNB, meanwhile, wants something more, maybe a relationship. And then we have track 18, How It Feels. It's a record about PNB expressing his love for a particular woman who's giving him some pushback. In certain situations, you know, you have women who know that you have feelings for them, but they want to play hard to get. And I think that's sort of like a defensive mechanism for some women, basically to prevent themselves from being hurt. Because maybe in the past relationship they were hurt because things probably moved along faster than it probably should. So some girls tend to do that. But listening to the project, I thought this was a pretty dope body of work, especially being a double album. Usually double albums are stacked with a bunch of filler, but this was pretty loaded with substance. But anyways, moving on, sleepers, we have track 2, I Need More. We have track 13, Put You On, featuring A Boogie. And we have track 16, My Ex. Skips for me is Now or Never 2.0. And my personal favorites are Dreamin', D Streets featuring Little Durk, Go to Mars, Penny Proud, Middle Child, Fuck Up the City, Nowadays, Swervin', I Like Girls, all these bands, Stage Fright, Choosing, and How It Feels. And my overall conclusion, I thought this was a great debut album, and it's in quotations because, as PNB was saying on Everyday Struggle, the label sees this as his debut album, even though Catch These Vibes was an album, but they're counting this as his debut album, I guess, and because they didn't put as much backing behind Catch These Vibes, and this one they are, so that's why he's calling this a debut album. And I thought this was much better than Catch These Vibes, and my score for that project was 15 out of 18, which comes out to 83%, compared to my score for this album. I gave it a 17 out of 18, which comes to a 94%, so an 11% increase. So I thought it was pretty dope. Definitely his best body of work that I've heard from him. I've heard this as well as Catch These Vibes. I know he has another project, but I never got a chance to listen to that. And yeah, this was a dope project, especially being a double album. Anyways, guys, that's gonna do it for my review of this album. You know, if you enjoyed it, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Also, make sure you guys support this album. Go out and buy it, stream it, all of that, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.